This is a huge problem with leaders across the tech industry. And Tectone accidentally called out Asmongold on this exact issue in a video. So let's start the clip.
But the other thing is, he's also running companies behind the scenes. He's a head figure in a lot of companies that he helps run, and I'm gonna mean...
Okay, so for context here, this is Tectone talking about Asmongold's leadership role in mainly, I think it's StarForge, which is his company that builds gaming PCs. But it might also be referencing his role in OTK stuff too. I'm not sure. This clip is a couple months old. Also, both of these guys are massively successful creators and businessmen. And I'm not criticizing what they do, but this is a great example, almost a case study to learn about different leadership styles. And it shows a big challenge of being a leader in the tech space. So let's let Tectone continue.
This genuinely, and Asmongold will never tell you this, Asmongold works with idiots. He does. And what these people do is they say, Daddy, Asmongold, what the fuck do we do? And then Asmongold tells them what to do, and then they do it. Now there's...
Oh boy. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about. There's a lot to unpack here. And I know he's trying to illustrate just how much people rely on Asmongold. But what Tectone is actually describing here is textbook, okay? This is exactly the kind of behavior that you see all the time from somebody who went directly from an individual contributor, so that's a term commonly abbreviated to IC, or individual contributor, into a leadership position, right? Without any of that in-between management experience. And it's something that's really common in tech where you have really smart people that are thrust into these leadership positions all the time. And we're gonna get to Asmongold's response here in a minute, but I'm just gonna skip ahead a couple seconds and then I can comment on this.
It doesn't matter. But that's every single thing that I've seen when I was in a leadership position and I was in a talent position. He says what to do and then people fucking do it. And that is a very stressful thing. There's a lot of people that rely on Asmongold's word to do.
Okay, so this is actually a perfect case study because what you see here, this happens a lot in tech where you have, you've got a really smart, really brilliant technical people who either, they made an app or they invented something or whatever it is, right? And now suddenly they find themselves at the head of a company. And instead of doing the thing, they're having to lead a company of people doing the thing that they just did or that they just built, right? And this has a couple of different effects. So one is when you're suddenly in charge of a bunch of people who might have, years more experience in the industry than you do, right? Now you kind of feel like you're in charge, so you need to have all the answers. And that's a lot of pressure to be under. Now, I don't think that's what's going on here. I don't know the situation, obviously, but I don't think that's the case. Another thing is, and this is really common with tech founders specifically, you know the thing that you built really, really well, right? It's like your baby. And now suddenly there's a bunch of other people coming in and working on it and running it and changing it. And you have this urge to tell them, exactly what to do, micromanage it because you're really familiar with it and you feel like you know what's best for the thing that you built. But the thing about that is when someone ends up in a management position like this, it's because that company has grown past the point that an individual can do it all anymore, right? And the things that they did to successfully get from there to here, those are not the same things that will get it from here to the next level. In fact, sometimes some of those things that they're doing can actually be detrimental to getting to that next level. And leaders need to realize that those other people were brought in for a reason, right? The leaders need to lean on the people they brought in because that's why they're there. So let's see what Asmongold has to say about this.
A bit of clarification. I never tell people what to do. I simply suggest what I think the best outcome is, and people choose to listen or not. And Tectone can confirm this. I don't tell anybody what to do. I simply say, this is what I think we should do. This is the right option to take.
Do anything to operate for...
Okay, so what Asmon said right there is mostly correct. It's kind of what you would do in this situation if you weren't Asmongold. Okay, and here's where it gets a little more complex though, because he's kind of a celebrity, right? So personal interactions are going to be a little bit different. Imagine if, your boss was Elon Musk, right? And he makes a suggestion. are you really going to say no, even though you're pretty sure he's wrong or you might have a better idea? Right? And this isn't just a thing with celebrities. It's not easy to tell the guy who signed your paycheck no, right? But it's harder when they're really successful and really famous and all the things that come along with that, right? And I'm not saying Asmon is making the wrong decisions here or that he needs to be checked somehow, right? I'm just explaining how those kind of leadership dynamics tend to actually play out in the real world. So this tends to lead to a situation where you're kind of training your team to expect you to always give them the answer, right? To rely on you and to not think for themselves. And so the goal, though, for leadership should be to get them to the place where they don't need you, right? Where they're able to make their own decisions when you're not in the room, right? So instead, in this case of opening with, here's what I think we should do, it's more opening with, what do you think we should do? Ask them. And that's where this gut reaction where younger or newer leaders tend to have, where it's like, they're admitting that they don't know what's going on, right? That they don't have all the answers. And it's almost like having all the answers is their qualification for being in charge. But it's not. It's leadership's job to surround themselves with really intelligent, really experienced, really competent people who know more about their individual subjects than the leader does, right? It's the leadership's job to actually get out of the way and enable that communication between those experts. So if the leader is the smartest person in the room or seems like they're the smartest person in the room, then they're probably doing something wrong, right? They're hiring the wrong people. And that's the problem, right? That's the problem that so much of tech has today, because it has this tendency to be this environment where everyone wants to be the smartest, right? But no one wants to step back and just be an enabler and let the team do their job. And that's really what successful leadership looks like. It's a support role. Hey, so this is the first time I'm trying a React format. And I think it's a really interesting way kind of to use these conversations as a format to learn. But tell me what you think in the comments, and I'll have the original video in the description so you can go watch the whole thing. And check out this video where I go behind the scenes of just how much of this industry is guesswork. Or is it? And if you find this kind of thing interesting, stick around because there'll be more coming soon.